Hey there, I'm Kaila Cherie. We are here on the Blueprint Podcast, second episode with the lovely Corein. We are going to be talking about journalism and just Corein, tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Yes, so my name is Corein Carter. Most people know me for being a journalist with some of the most prominent magazines out there. Everything from InStyle, Allure, Martha Stewart Living, Women's Health Magazine, and most importantly, Forbes is where most people know me from.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more. How did you get into it? Like,
Yeah.
what brought your attention to journalism? Was that something you went in straight out of college, you wanted to do, or?
Yeah. So storytelling has been a part of my life forever. I started since I was a little girl. I had my first poem published when I was in the fifth grade, an adult poem book. In high school, in college, critical thinking pieces were like something that I aced all the time. So I knew that I naturally wanted to be able to jump into that lane, but it was not easy. I have like a traditional and a non-traditional background. Went to college for journalism, could not get a internship to save my life after school. So after school, I ended up moving to Atlanta. And in Atlanta, I became a flight attendant because I knew I didn't want to go into the mundane, like office job. I wanted to travel the world and become cultured. While I was being a flight attendant, I had this like urge that I was like, okay, I need to start writing again. So I would go on Insta stories at that time around like 2016, and people were really engaged with like the quick stories that I would tell. And they were like, you should do a podcast, you should do a blog. I was like, I should.
Yeah.
So in 2017, I created my own blog called Play on Words. Yeah. And that was back at the time where podcasts and blogs kind of were just getting that wave and kind of getting that momentum. And it caught fire. So from there, I got the traction and the fan base where people were really engaging with my blog and my podcast. And I kind of was like, you know what? I want to see if I can reach out to some magazines to see if they would be looking for freelance opportunities. And the first opportunity that I had was the Work magazine in Atlanta. Corein is the owner of that magazine. And from there, I was at Blevity. I was at, oh my gosh, everything that you could imagine. So many magazines that I've done up thus this far. I can't even remember her name, but I've worked my way all the way up.
Right. Congratulations,
Thank
kudos
you.
to you. So what is something that what do you like to write about? What is the best story? What's your best story tell? Like what gives you passion? What do you like seeing?
So I think for me, storytelling changes with time. When I first started, it was more about the trends that were going on in society. So it was like, oh, potential is illusion, the whole phase, and things of that such. And then I moved into an era where I wanted to do more impactful stories. So I started doing profile stories on different Black owned owners and business owners of that such. And I liked that for a while. But then I was like, okay, I want to jump into doing stories about the live events and the positive things that are going on in our community. And that's where I am right now. And I really love doing that because there's not enough coverage on the high profile visibility level when it comes to showing the positive things that are going on in the Black community specifically. So I love that space that I'm in right now, but it changes over time. Like, I don't know, 2 years from now, I could be in a different place, but right now it's about making sure that people know about the activations that are happening that are changing people's lives.
Right. I love that. I love you touched on that because there's a lot of our society entrepreneurs, especially African American young Black women. You know, we're out there trying to be impactful. What are some good things for you? Like if you're a journalist, right? So if you wanted to if you wanted a story about them, what is some key aspects that you look for or qualities?
Authenticity is number one, because there's going to be 5 of you know what I mean? Or there's going to be 100 of you. But what uniquely stands out about you that is going to connect with the everyday person? I'm not into bragging. I'm not into brag rights. Like it's great that you made $10 million. It's great that you got the seed round of whatever money from a VC fund. But I really want to know how you authentically connect with that little girl from the hood.
Right.
You know what I mean? How is she? Because sometimes I think when people are trying to tell their stories, they go into the brag rights of, the money and the perks of things. But somebody that is not in that lane will not understand that. So authenticity is number one. And number two, also, like, I want somebody else that's a storyteller, you know? Tell me what your vision was, how you got there. And putting all the pieces together, if you can uniquely do that for me, then that intrigues me, and then that's when I want to engage.
Yeah, so pretty much going back to where you got started, not what's going on now. We want to know how you got started, what brought you here, what led you here. I know we were discussing, you know, you're from Jersey.
Yes.
So, like, being from Jersey, you saw a lot in the streets, the everything. So that kind of, like, inspired you to kind of do journalism too, in a way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Coming from Jersey was a unique experience. I'm from Trenton, to be specific, and growing up, it was weird. I lived on a street that was super nice, but the next block over was the hood, where I'm talking about shootouts, craziness going on. I've seen dead bodies. I've seen people doing drugs. It's a very unfortunate circumstance, but that kind of gave me the push and grind to be like, yo, like, I want to be that person that rises above that.
Right.
And being in Trenton, I had a unique experience as well too, because I was really smart. So I was able to go to these schools and these institutions where I had a better education, and I was surrounded by other people that, you know, had unique experiences in life. And that made me want to push forward and be like, yo, I want to do this so I can come back to my hood and show people that they have an opportunity to make something better of themselves.
Right. No, that's amazing. That's impactful, because that's how you become a journalist, having an impactful story and then just writing impactful stories.
Yeah.
On and on about other people.
Definitely.
And other things that's going on. What are some key highlights you have in journalism? Like, what are some key moments you've had within, you know, your experience, your life? You know, you're working for Forbes now.
Yeah.
So that's a key thing that a lot of people look at. They'll be like, "Oh, that's amazing." But how did you get there?
Absolutely. I think that I focused on my unique skill set. I wouldn't say that I'm the best at what I'm doing, but I know that I have a unique angle that connects with the everyday person. And they want to see stuff like that on those platforms, because when you're reading some of those stories, sometimes like the verbiage is really, really harsh. If you don't have, you know, that palette or that wordplay, you won't understand what they're saying. And I come like straight to the point. So I think that that is where people connect with me. And then also when it pertains to like how I got there, it was a grind. I didn't have a mentor at that time. I have a few now, but at the time when I first started, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have other people that I could go to and say, hey girl, could you know, put a good word in for me? I had to literally like figure out, okay, let me Google, how do I pitch an editor? Really, like, I figured out a formula that worked for me, uniquely for me, and I started using that formula, and I would pitch. I would find the emails. I'm a master researcher.
That's key.
I'm a master researcher, so I would find the emails of these editors at these magazines, pitch ideals to them that were thoughtful and also in the like format that I researched online, and I found that it worked. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So the first time that I pitched myself outside of like the outlets like Blevity or XO Nicole, I pitched myself to InStyle magazine, and Kayla Graves, that's my girl, love her. I pitched her a story about a beauty ideal, and she loved it and picked the story up, and that kind of gave me the confidence boost to be like, you know what? Shoot, like, I can do this. Like, so I kept going on. I pitched to Allure, said yes. Pitched to Harper's Bazaar, they said yes. Martha Stewart Living, yes. It just was a rolling ball of things. And then when it came to Forbes, I actually got into the Forbes The Culture group. And I was in the group for a year and a half before they actually implemented the writing sector of Forbes The Culture on the actual website. They were looking for journalists. They had already had, I think, 6 at the time. And Brianne Garrett was the managing editor at that time. So I was like, hey, you know, I'm a writer as well too. I'm in the Forbes The Culture group. I would love to see if there's an opportunity, if I can pitch to try to tell stories on the outlet. It took them like maybe 5 or 6 months to get back to me, but they did. They said yes. They did an extensive background check, and I was like, holy shit. Excuse my language.
No, you're okay.
Holy crap. Like that's when I felt like, okay, I'm on to something. It felt good because it felt like,
yeah.
okay, what you're doing is not in vain. Like you're doing it with a purpose and people are actually gravitating towards it.
That's great. I love you pointed that out, that it felt great, because I was going to ask you that, like, how does that feel? Like you went through the grind,
Yeah.
like, you went full ham. And that's the beauty of, like, in entrepreneurship and in anything that you do, just chasing your career, like just going full throttle and then knowing that you got the reward at the
Yes.
end. That's like, such an amazing feeling, and that, more impactful.
Exactly.
That gives you your impactful story. Um, so I know you are in journalism, and now you're transitioning into marketing.
Uh-huh.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I naturally got into marketing through journalism for the simple fact that people would pitch me their ideals, and I would say, okay, this doesn't work for this outlet, but here are a few things that you can implement, and maybe you can go pitch to this outlet, and maybe a better fit. I would see that information that I was giving other people was actually working, and through that, I was like, hold on, I have something here. So I started off small. I started doing consulting calls. I had put it up on Calendly, set it up where, I had a price and people could pay, to speak to me and help give them tips on what they should do when it pertains to media and how to get marketing in that area. And it started booming.
Wow.
When I say, I thought that, I would get 1 or 2 calls a month. No, I was getting 3 or 4 calls a day.
Wow.
And I was like, holy crap. Like, this is taking off. I'm onto something here. So through that, I said, you know what? I see these huge corporations and these huge companies. They'll pitch me stories, and I'll be like, this is not what we're looking for, and it's not going to get traction. So I said I wanted to build a business model where I work with Fortune 500 companies and help consult with them because they need help when it pertains specifically to Black and brown communities and not being performative. So I was like, okay, because I'm on the media side and I know what it takes to get high visibility, coverage or whatever you want to call it, I was like, let me help these companies and start reaching out to them to see if there's events that are coming up that pertains to Black and brown communities where I could step in and help them really give them the tools and resources that they need.
Right. Isn't it crazy how we think something won't be so big to something, but it's so needed everywhere? And that's another beauty of entrepreneurship as well, like finding and then just stumbling into things sometimes.
Exactly.
And then it just taking off, and look how much it helps and grows the community in ways you didn't even imagine. Because I know you want to be a philanthropist.
Yes.
You want people to know you as that. So what are some key ways that you're going to keep elevating to that, for that to be your legacy?
Absolutely. For that to be my legacy, I think that taking a step back outside of myself, a lot of people they're like, oh, you do these cool things. And I'm like, I want to provide those cool things that I go to, those cool experiences that I am, blessed to be in the rooms for. I want to give that to people from my community.
Right.
So I want to engage with more companies and more corporations where I can provide those opportunities for young kids. We don't always have to do something where it's just basic. Black people want to be on a red carpet. Black people want a reason to dress up all the time. You know what I mean? They want good food. They want good champagne. They want to listen to different music, but those opportunities are not given to us. So I want to build a mold where I'm going back into specific niche communities and I'm allowing people to experience certain things so it can open up their minds. Because say you're a young kid from Compton or whatever, and everybody around you likes hip hop music, but you like classical music and you're too scared to kind of tap into that. If we provide experiences for these, young kids or even adults to engage with, then that opens people's minds up because they're like, oh, she can do it, he can do it, they're cool people, I can do it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm a mom now, and I've been watching these shows, and it's like a show about that as well, just broadening we're normalized to just broaden your horizons, just be open to more. And I think that's what we need to instill into our young kids within the community now, because it's important so that they can feel that they matter and that they can do whatever they want to do. Because sometimes I wish I had that growing up. Sometimes it's like, you have a little trauma with not elevating to your full potential because you still have that mindset, like what we kind of grew up in our era. Just no, you can't. That's not normal.
Exactly.
That's you're not you're too black to be doing that. You're not you're not white enough to do something like that. So just putting yourself in those positions and letting you know that it's okay, like to listen to classical music.
Exactly.
Classical music, you don't have to like hip hop per se.
Exactly.
Me, I like to listen to no music. People think, I'm like a little weird, but I'm not weird. I'm just different. You like what you like.
Exactly. Yeah. Listen, we all have our own unique blueprint inside of us.
Right.
And that's where I think that when it comes to our society, we're all trying to follow the same path.
Yeah.
We're all trying to, okay, I saw her do this, so I'm going to do that. But it's like, no, find what uniquely is coded in you and like expand on that. Like I am a hippie of a certain sort. Like I love meditation. I love journaling, Pilates, yoga, sound baths. Like that stuff intrigues the heck out of me. And some people are like, yo, she's weird. And it's like, no, that's what's in me. You know what I mean? And that's what makes me happy. So I want more people, especially in our community, to just kind of define what are those things that make you happy and go after it.
Yeah. Dig deeper within and pull those out. And I think if you do that young, like the kids will just fly and be.
Let them be free and be themselves.
Yeah, let them speak how they want to speak. Let them be as outspoken as they can, because it's just going to instill so much more power in them to like grow and execute to the next level.
Exactly.
I love that. Keep doing what you're doing. That is amazing. Amazing. So I know we talked about how'd you get started in journalism. You gave a little background on the marketing side. Where do you see yourself kind of like 5 years from now with growing that?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I have so many plans. So 5 years from now, so I'm starting on that 5-year plan now. I just recently became the COO of Culture Makers INC, and it's a global agency where we're executing and curating initiatives with institutions that will help them break down performance measures. I think that in the next 5 years, I want to see myself consulting with like big, huge hotels and restaurants and things, and helping them really like, okay, like if you want to market other people outside of your regular audience and things, like make sure that you're allowing people the experience to come in and say, okay, we have things on the menu for this type of person. If you're vegan, you know what I mean? Or we have non-alcoholic beverages and things like that. Like I want to step out of experiences and also just into, what is that, hospitality? Hospitality for sure.
Not the normal hospitality, but, a little different.
I go places and it's like, okay, like for me, I'm plant-based. I don't eat meat. So you go to a lot of places and a lot of things on the menu are like, okay, it's LA. Like you should have something that feeds to that. Then that could resonate or transcend to a lot of areas. That could transcend to a community, could transcend to food, it can transcend to the non-alcoholic beverage. So many different facets that you could tap into.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's just, the change with evolution. Like we just need to, like you said, just change and adapt. So you're adapting, you're changing, you're making a new trend.
Exactly, flowing.
Yep, flowing with it. So what are some parts of the blueprint to success that you can't live without? Like what's your 5 key pillars, that you use every day to keep you going?
I would definitely say being laser focused is the number one thing. I think I tapped into it a little bit before, but people are so focused on what somebody else's blueprint is, and I am like straight and narrow. Like I can't see nothing over here. I can't see anything. I'm blinded by what is in front of me. And in that, I'm able to excel at different levels every year. Every decade it's something new because I'm laser focused on what my dreams are. And also limiting comparison to other people, because I did not have the opportunity to have an internship or get my dream job out of college. It took me a long time to get here, but when I was here, God like excelled me and speeded me forward. So in that, I want people to know, like, don't compare your journey to anybody else's, because it will never be like anybody else's.
Right.
And when it's your time, let me tell you something, it will take off. Also, just balance. I am the type of person where Boundaries are something that I do not play with. When I'm not feeling okay, I have no problem telling somebody, listen, I need a moment to myself, or I need to take some time off, or maybe I just, am not feeling this. Let me pass this off to somebody else. I know when to give myself space and give myself grace, essentially.
Yeah.
That's something that's super important. Also, I think that collaboration is key too. In our community, I think that there's so much pitting against each other, and there's power in number one, and there's power in, gathering.
Yeah.
So as a community, it's kind of like each one teach one.
Yeah.
In that sense, when there's something that I'm doing that somebody else wants to, tap in and say, oh my God, I saw you doing this. I've been interested in that for a while. How did you get there? I have no problem sharing gems, because what God has divinely ordered for me, nobody can stop.
Yes.
So whether I bring the next gentleman or the next young woman up with me, it's never going to stop what my purpose is, because I'm laser focused. Also, I would say it's just knowing and having a home basis. Always being humble. I won't say that you shouldn't be confident, but just being humble and knowing that, listen, God has, I think sometimes we get big headed, especially in a place like California. You see people, they come here, they change. Stay humble and rooted in who you are. You know what I mean? If you were that church girl before, keep those aspects. You know what I mean? Enjoy the other aspects that have come into your life now, but also keep that part about you as well, so you can stay grounded.
Yeah. I love that. I loved how you touched on boundaries, because boundaries is one key thing that a lot of people struggle with, I think. Especially for myself, I know I have a hard time saying no. And, that's something, was that something that you always had instilled in you, or you had to learn along the way?
That's something I always had instilled in me, because I'm a very, kind of hands-off type of person. I've always, prior to now, I was always just a one woman person. Now I have people around me, and I have that community, so I understand that, okay, I have to be more vocal when it comes to saying no, or saying that I need a break, because I don't want anybody to think that I'm not showing up as my best self, that I'm not providing the best product or work. So you have to be vocal and letting people know that. And when you do that, people will understand. I think there's a lot of angst within us, especially as women, when we have to say no, or say, you need to take some time, because you think somebody's going to judge you. But most of the time, if you don't say anything, and then you're not being your best self or showing up as your best self, then that's when you get people looking at you funny.
Yeah.
So be vocal about what's going on with you. Even if it's like, girl, I can't think straight.
Right.
So it's like, okay, if I'm your partner, I can be like, all right, she's not thinking straight right now. So let me take
and
the load on and be in charge, so that we can function cohesively.
Okay, so be vocal so they'll respect you more.
Yes, absolutely.
So, definitely. I'm gonna take note of that, because that's one of my power struggles right now, to set those boundaries, say no, and just, be vocal about what I want within my life, so that I can, design certain things for it to flow.
I love that.
What do you wish you would have done differently as a journalist? Like, if you had to go back in time, what would you have done differently? Or did you like the way your journey went?
I would ask for help.
Okay.
I didn't ask for help before, because I was that type of person where I never wanted to be a burden to somebody else. I never wanted to feel like I had to owe somebody something, or it was like tit for tat. You know what I mean? I didn't want to feel like I was ever in debt to someone. Yeah. And that was a simple-minded mindset when I look back on it, because there were people that would have been willing to give me game, willing to give me access, willing to give me contacts and all those things. But because I didn't ask, I prolonged the journey that could have been, just a little bit shorter. But it all ended up working out, because in the long run, as time went on and I understood how building community was so important to me, that mindset shifted. Yeah. And it was like, girl, you being simple. Right. Because you're going to get some people that will say no, or some people that, may not be, they have your best interests at heart, but that's also a learning lesson. Yep. Because you say, hey, you know what? I know what to look out for. I know the red flags, or whatever you want to call it, essentially to say that, hey, This person is not for me, so let me go ask someone else that is for me.
Give us a tip on an upcoming journalist. So I know you gave us some background on how you got started. You kept going. You stayed focused, and you knew this is what you wanted to do. So you kept at it. Like I said, anything that you do within your career, you just have to stay focused in that. So what are some key things that you would tell someone that wants to be a journalist?
Absolutely. Find your niche. You know what I mean? Find what it is that, if you know, it needs to come easy. If it feels like it's hard for you to do, then that's not your niche thing. You know what I mean? Like, if you know that, say you love writing about wellness, and that comes so easy, off the tip of the tongue, off the dome, like you could just write it down like blindly. If that's what you know feels right, do that. Don't do something just because you want the perks and benefits or lifestyle that somebody else has, and then you're not going to be able to deliver on that. So I think that's one of the key things right there, is just knowing what your niche is, finding what comes easy to you, and sticking to that. As I said before earlier, like, over time, you know, you'll build different skill sets. You'll build, you know, just different ideologies around things, and then maybe you want to move into another area of writing. But don't rush that, and don't force it, because then when you're not able to deliver, that's when editors are looking at you like, 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 this is, I don't think this is going to be a good fit. So you always want to be comfortable in what you're doing.
Okay, cool. I don't know, maybe I'm a little oblivious to it. I don't know, but maybe somebody could be thinking the same way I thought. I had thought about doing journalism because I loved writing. And when I was in school, and I was like, oh, maybe I should be a journalist. But then I just automatically thought I had to be a news anchor. And I was like, oh, no, I can't be, like, in the front.
Absolutely.
Like, so for someone coming up and, you know, if they have that curiosity, what are some more lanes in journalism that are good ventures rather than, you know, just being on television?
Absolutely. So I'm a traditional journalist. You don't know who I am. You just see my name. So you're behind the scenes. Like, that is just writing on, you know, the virtual website or for a magazine. Like, you're not in the forefront. So traditional journalism, in that sense right there, is like, you know, you are behind the scenes, and you still can not be faceless, because people can obviously look you up on LinkedIn and Instagram and things of that such. But you don't have to have the target on your back. Like, you're not the face of the company, the face of the brand. Obviously, in TV anchoring and things of that such, then even radio, you know what I mean? You have to be more proactive. You got to be more on the scene. That's not always for everybody. Even with me, I would say in my journey, I just got comfortable in the last maybe 2-3 years with being on the scene on red carpets. It would give me anxiety. I don't like big crowds. I'm not into that. I'm an empath, so I feel a lot of energy. So I had to learn that, okay, I can be on the scene, but there's certain spaces that are for me or not for me. And you have to learn that as well, too. If you know that you're a music head, then it's okay for you to say that you're going to go on a red carpet for, you know, a music event. For me,
no. I'm with you.
It gives me extreme anxiety. So I'm not, like, benefits and, like, charity galas and things of that such. Or if I'm going to something that is for, like, college students, because I went to HBCU, I love doing stuff like that because I feel comfortable. And then I don't feel as though, you know, I have to come out of character, or I don't feel as though I'm going to be all, you know, anxious. So.
Or be somebody you're not. You just have to just be yourself. That's right. And go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
Based on your blueprint, what are some words that you would leave with an up-and-coming journalist?
Stand firm in your lane. I think that when we think about journalism, there's so many ways to storytell. And maybe somebody else may not understand what you're trying to convey, but you know your audience. You know your demographic of people and what they want to hear. So in that, it's like, okay, listen, I know that my folks want to hear this story this way and in this style. So stand firm on that. When you are like, yo, okay, this is me, this is how I'm going to storytell, then people will want to jump on that bandwagon. When you are shaky and you're unsure about things and you're over here doing this and you're over there doing that, people are not going to be able to gravitate that. You want to be it's not that you need to be known for one thing, but you need to be known for a way of how you do things. And in that, I think that's where you find your fan base. That's where you find truth in yourself, and also just build out the I guess, the blueprint for the way that you want your journalism lane to go.
Yeah. So find your way on how you want your journey to go.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
the key aspect. Love
Stand
that.
firm on that. Like, don't waver from that. Just because your friend is dope over here in this lane, and maybe her demographic and her audience may be a little bit different, you know? Understand metrics. That's so important. You can go on Instagram now and look at where your followers are from in the cities. If they're more male or if they are, you know, more women, you can look at those different things and see who you need to cater to.
Yeah.
And in that will provide you a solid ground.
Yeah, I love that. To do it your way so people gravitate to you and just keep going from there. Trust you. Everybody has their own process.
Yeah.
Trust the journey and just keep going.
Absolutely.
I love that. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Corein, Forbes writer, marketing expert. Love to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all for tuning in to the Blueprint Podcast. Wrapping up episode 2 with Ms. Corein. Thank you so much for coming on with us. I am so glad you guys tuned in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. DM if you want to know more about Blueprint University. You can also follow Ms. Corein
at In Living Colored.
Awesome, In Living Colored. So drop a comment below if you love this episode, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
See ya.